Welcome back, everybody, to the Arshurian. I am the Arshurian. I'm really sorry about that glitch. I think what happened was that my phone lost connection to the internet, and I had to restart the phone again. I had to actually just turn it off and on, and then I came straight back onto the browser and straight back onto StreamYard, and it took me straight into the broadcast studio. So hopefully this will be okay, and hopefully Cahill and Irish and Tired can come straight back on here because they're two subscriptions that and guys that I really do appreciate. They're intelligent lads, and they're good in the chat. I like they were two guys that I would not want to lose when having a chat on here. Um, and they bring up some very good points. They talk about some very good things. So hopefully they'll come back up. So anyway, today is going to be again a review of the Hagakure television. Good, nice to see you, Irish and Tired. Good, I'm glad. Okay, that was a bit of a rigmarole. I actually had to turn the whole phone off and back on again. So anything you want to talk about, you know how this goes. Anything you want to talk about, just throw it in there. I will chat away. Hopefully, Cahill will join us again. Cahill's a smart lad. He's got some good experience and good information to share. He's good to have in the community, I think. And so I'll be just yakking away here about the Hagakure while you guys think of things and bring up. I did two in the two live streams, the two last live streams that I did. Only one has been uploaded. I thought they weren't going to upload any of them. But I hope the banging outside isn't disturbing either because I was going to leave it because I thought maybe the roadworks outside might actually be too much of an interference. Also, this creaky table is a bit annoying as well, and I'm hoping that's not going through up into the sound, which will be addressed when I get my laptop up and running and I have a separate mic off the table, all the rest of it as well. So you can you hear that when I actually push a bit of weight down into my elbow. Simon Says is back. The new guard of powers to give spots for drinking in public. €300. Seriously. But wasn't that always there? Wasn't there always are they really new Garda powers? I always thought that fine was there for a long time. I thought that was there for a long time. Why is this a new power? Again, if I had the laptop and if I had the OBS working through the StreamYard, we could actually open up the online references to that and see if there is actually what the actual specification of that is. So, I'll pass last night. Drinking in public, it's getting really statist, isn't it? It's getting really uh, over regulatory, if you ask me. You know, like I'm not a big fan of seeing people drinking in public or anything like that. I mean, I think if you're going to drink alcohol, you should at least do it at home. And do it. There should be some kind of personal what would you say? There should be, you should be able to police yourself, and that society, like that's what makes a civilized society. Civilized society is when people are able to manage their own behavior in relation to other people and in relation to society, larger society at large. Of course, what, and I keep doing this, I keep coming back and saying this is that the one thing that actually works with that is a higher order of morality. So um, again, things go round in circles. It'll come back. They could charge you with intoxicated in a public place. Judge decided punishment. Now it's €300 on the spot. They could charge you with intoxication in a public space. Judge decided as regards to drinking. I don't agree myself. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to put these up on. Keep forgetting to put these up on screen. So Simon says, and goes on to say, and then Simon says again. And Irish and Tired says that. Before that was the way. Yes, and it will be again. It will be. Everything comes around. Everything comes back around. When there's enough stress, when there's enough stress in the population, when there's enough stress in the people as a whole, as a group, they'll look for the truth, and they'll look for ways to bring back civilization or create a new one. And it will happen. And but if you want to talk in religious terms, God will have the last word, and will always be there to remind you that that His presence is there. So um, I'm still kind of split the way I think about things. I'm, as I said, I'm researching Christianity. I'm still exploring it after 27 years of being an atheist. And so for me, I still think in terms of, we say, uh, sociology, psychology, and all the philosophy and all this kind of stuff. So Simon Cecil says the way used to be a judge. The X way used to. I'm going to take it. Some of these are typos, Simon. Okay. The way used to be a judge. Besides punishment, now it's guarded. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you see, this is the problem. This is the problem, because once everybody gave up their immutable rights when it came to not putting something over your face, covering your nose and your mouth. Once that became a precedent, then the powers that be went, okay, well, they're willing to give up their human rights, their freedoms, this easily. Well, now we can start to actually become a little bit more, what would you say? We can actually just give the right of adjudication over to the actual enforcement themselves, which I'm not really sure what I think about that. And have you listened to Dr. E. Michael Jones? I have indeed. Irish and Tired, yeah. I know his stuff. Did you know that his books were taken down off Amazon? That they took down his books? Did you know that? It's interesting, that, isn't it? Simon says, so I have 15 charges since COVID. Get out of here. I don't believe that. Come on, 15 charges. What are you up to? You want to get a handle on yourself, mister. You want to get a grip. What are you doing? You're getting 15 charges for public order offences. Who have I got in my chat? Okay. So, yeah. So do you want to chat, or will I read a bit of the book? Like, I did put a picture of the book in the title, books in the title. So I'll do one or two paragraphs at some stage. I won't stay on too long today, because my head's not the best. I wasn't drinking last night. I'm just a little bit grotty. I'm not joking, non-compliant. Yeah, but what are you doing? Like, okay, you've made a claim there now, Simon. You've got to actually back it up with details. This is where your feet get held to the fire. So you've actually got to give us some details. And don't be lying. Tell the truth. Why do you ask me that anyway, Arshintar? What have you explored in that respect about E. Michael Jones? What do you think of him? So come on, like, so you're not, what you're not talking about was their public order offense. You're just saying that you got into trouble with like people who work in shops and supermarkets and things. Yeah, am I right? Is that what you mean? Um, so, oh gosh, yeah, it's about what's that, sheep? E. Michael Jones is right about female sheep. um, yeah. Well, he's not the only one, But again, it's like, if you think about, you know, what categories are we talking about here? The people like who they say the 14 families or whatever who rule the world and all this, who are supposed to come in under that category, they, could you really call them that? You know, they hide under that term and they use it as a buffer. You know, so like the whole thing, the whole narrative around the Second World War and old Mr. Bad Mustachio, that whole narrative that is around that is used every time people look at these people and say, look, you're responsible for this, you're responsible for that, the World Bank, blah blah blah, centralized banking, and all of these kind of things, you know. And what happens then is that everybody goes, oh, it's all them, you know, it is them, full stop. When in fact, what it is people who are not behaving with, I will use E. Michael Jones' term, logos, uh, people who are not behaving with logos or in behavior in accordance with the truth of reality in life and a higher moral order or God's law or whatever, they're not behaving that way. So they're not really, you know, female sheep, if you get me, as you put in the, as you put, you know, where the hell is it again? Yeah. You know, so they're not behaving like female sheep, you know, they're more, they're using it as a category with which to defend themselves and to hide behind. So that you have the whole narrative of the Second World War and to do with, you know, leisure camps, you know, you know, to do with leisure camps. And the narrative then gets created that it was something else. And then every bit of media, which is controlled by the same people, gets put out there that this is what happened. And, you know, I don't know, like it's so long ago and it's in history and it's been so manipulated. It's very hard to mess with that or to understand that. I mean, I wasn't there, but I think there's a lot of information that you can unearth yourself from off the internet. I think the real people, the people who are female sheep, are basically they themselves have a terrible narrative to deal with because of what history has said has happened. You know, like they themselves have become victims of their own narrative or of that narrative. You know, and so like they've lived in fear of, we say, Europe and Europeans. You know, now what if that didn't happen? What if it was a different scenario? You know, and there's a lot of information to say, just like, you know, globe or flat earth, there are arguments for both. There are arguments against and for both. You know, so, you know, these, like the actual female sheep are themselves, you know, they're psychologically suffering as a result of believing something which may or may not be true, you know? And even if it is, I mean, there's a lot of evidence to show that with the Europeans, white people, Caucasians, and the rest are not are one of the least aggressive people on the planet, you know? There's no evidence to show that they want to target people and actually en masse hurt people, you know? Hi, Colin, how's it going? I'm not on long. I won't be on for long either because I've got a lot to do today. Well, got a fair bit to do. So let's see. It is undeniable that all NGOs and liberal causes are headed by all NGOs. Not all. I don't think. Is it all? I don't think all liberal causes. Yeah, but look at our women. Look at white Western women, liberal women. Like they have no patriarchy with which to adhere to. They don't have strong men who have a higher moral order that they can adhere to. So they end up becoming men. They end up behaving like men, and they end up taking on men's roles, and they end up becoming lesbians. You know, and it's like they're going to do this because the men are not strong in their life. You know, so now look at the way they are, and look at how they behave because of the maternal instinct and because of they don't have a structure with which those maternal instincts should actually be applied. So like it's not just female sheep; it's also our women are doing it. Our women are weaponized by the media, by the people in power to actually behave in the same way. So you have a lot of them working for NGOs. You have a lot of them heading off organizations which they believe is the right thing to do, because they're virtue signaling, which should be kept for being good mothers and good wives among themselves and their own families and communities, is actually being projected out into the world, you know? So let's see here. Simon says so they have been evicted from 198 history. What other people have been evicted from? I know, but I don't know. Look, don't target anybody. All I'm saying is don't target anybody. It's up. They I know the whole thing. I get it all. I've researched it. I've listened to it. I've heard it all. There are certain groups which adhere to certain dogmas of certain books, which are very non-logos driven, and they have very strong in-group preference and very strong out-group revulsion or repulsion. And why are you saying Longshanks was a boss? Why are you saying that? We're talking about something else here. Why is now Longshanks a boss all of a sudden? So they have been evicted from 109 countries throughout history, while other people have been evicted from 109. Okay, yeah. But what I'm saying is that when it comes to, say, like the use of usury and to have in-group preference for your own people, your own tribe first, and always like to have decrees and diktats within that of the books that I'm not going to say on here because the algorithm might pick up on them. But and then also to be able to, because of the scriptures, decrees, and diktats of those books, to use people who are not of your tribe and are not of your religious affiliate, so actually that those books can actually say that you can trick them, deceive them, use them for your own benefit, is it's a problem for them as much as it is for ourselves or for anybody else. But because they then become their own victims and they become their own, they bring, as I said, like when it comes to, say, maybe the people who adhere to their normal book, again, the one, it begins with a T, well, and an O, not the T and the A, begins with a T-O. Yeah, which, look, Colin hits it on the head right there. Look, Colin gets it straight away. That was his first comment at the start of that there. So, hello, Nishare. I haven't heard from you in ages. Good to see you on here. I'll get to your comment in a second. Irish and Tired. Irish and Tired thinks Longshanks is a boss, or was a boss. Okay. And so then Simon says, so I've listened to Female Sheep talk on streams who actually agree with what I'm saying. Check out, is it good? I'm not saying all that. Exactly. Yes. Yes. And it's like that. But there's something in some cultures, especially when that culture are people of a very high IQ, average IQ, their books teach very strong in-group preference, out-group repulsion, out-group deception, and all that. Well, then you end up with it's then there has to be the native peoples who these people find themselves among. They can only be tricked if they don't have a morality. What's happened to the Irish right now? The Irish right now have lost their belief in a God, or God, just God, right? We'll say God, right? The Irish themselves have lost that belief, mostly. So now their moral order is what's being given to them through the media, through television, through movies, through adverts, and our young people are being manipulated to believe in this way of behaving, this way of behaving, and this way of behaving, which is not in accordance with any kind of higher moral order. And so you can understand how if these people gain control of the media, gain control of the monetary systems, and then the native peoples of our land don't have a moral order which defend themselves against such trickery and deception. Well, then you can see how, well, then we're the fools. You know, we become the sheep. We become the herd animal. You understand? Okay, I'm going to leave it there on that statement. I'm going to move on to what the rest of you are saying. Colin says, not realizing they are destroying our country because of false victim. I said that was quite a good one. I fucking need to put my glasses on, really, because it's blurry this close up. I can read it, but it's just blurry. They can't be trusted in terms of international relations. We see them absolutely ever. Well, they own all the media. They own the banking systems and all that. But I would say that that a lot of them are not female sheep. A lot of them hide behind the term of female sheep. A lot of them, when I say female sheep, it's because what Simon said back then. Oh, long checks get them out. All right. Yeah, I heard something about that. All right, in the past. Okay, so God, you guys are so clued in. It's unbelievable. Afternoon. Simon says so. Longshanks kicked them out. I must read up on that. True, the Irish are shocking right now. Where's your glass of wine, eh? So all the media degeneracy, everything that is destroying the West, they are behind. So let me go again. All the media degeneracy, everything that is destroying us, they are behind. Well, they offer the ticket, but we're taking it. Why are we taking it? Because we don't have a moral order. We don't have a God. We don't have a system of. We don't have God goggles, God vision. You know what I mean? Oh no, yeah, sure, I'll take that loan. Absolutely. What? You're offering me a mortgage? No problem. Give it to me. But you see, if I put on the God goggles, I go, sorry, no, I'll pass on that because according to the Bible, usury is a sin. Thanks, but no thanks. Mortgage, it's all right. I'll wait till I have the money myself. Cheers. No, I don't want to get into. I don't want to get into debt. So you can keep it long. But thanks anyway. Cheers. You see? Understand? It's these are just regular glasses, by the way. It's if you don't have a manual, if you don't have a structure with which to navigate around and away from these offers by these tricksters, then how are you going to know not to take them? And that's where we're at. It's like you can't be blaming another group all the time. You are the other element within the transaction. You are. Not just you, me, all of us here, right? We're all accountable. Or are we going to keep playing the game of not being accountable, which is what we say we've always had in this country up until recently. But of course, they were puppets. Our government leaders were puppets. When hit shit fans, who will be able to defend it? When shit hits fan, who will be able? What do you mean, Colin? Colin, what do you mean by that? Can you elaborate a little bit more on that statement? Simon says so. There is not enough of us with balls. That's the problem. Plenty of lone wolves. Well, that's why I'm on here talking to all of you about talking about growing your own food. Get community with like-minded people. Find a higher order, higher moral order. Get God. It's not gonna fucking kill you. A lot of people just explore it. And see how you get on with it, and see does it work. Like when I started to say, okay, I'm going to start working with Christianity. I'm going to start working with the idea of it. One of the things I thought about was, okay, one of the ideas that atheists believe is that there's no heaven or hell, that there's no afterlife, and that when you die you just go back to the earth. All right, so that's an idea. That's one way of thinking about dying. But then we say in a Christian outlook, you believe that you go to heaven afterwards or hell, depending on what you've done and how you behave. But I would rather think that I'm going to meet my mother and father in an afterlife. I want to believe that, and I'd rather believe that than believe I'm just going to become clay and fodder for the earth, which is good too. It's going to happen whether I think about it like that or not. But I would like to think, I want to think that I'm going to meet my parents in the afterlife. I want that. I want to think like that, you know. And I think it's more beneficial to me psychologically and through through my psychology down to my physicality and then out to my environment. It's better for me to think like that. My well-being will ripple out into the world. You understand? So I choose to believe that, and that's where I'm starting with. You know. So Colin says it's the Troustier mentality, but we will be the ones needing help. You'll have to explain it again when we become a minority. I have nothing to do with the dirt. Don't know what that means, Simon. You'll have to clarify that for me. Now, bear with me. I do forget when people say things further back in the chat, and I'm looking back along because I'm yakking away here, and I know the truth. Catholic has been destroyed from within. Well, it is from the higher tiers up. It's not what we think it is. Destroyed from within. But if you read the old Pope's writings, everything fits like a jigsaw. Maybe. Charlie Box. Okay, Charlie Box. Thanks. Let me go back to here. It's a. Oh, you mean like it's a troker mentality? Is that what you mean? But we will be the ones needing help. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think things are going to change. I don't think there'll be. I don't think it's going to be bad as you think it is. I think that I don't think people fight the way we think they do, especially the way young men think. I think families got you. Okay, he's agreeing. Colin is telling me yes to that. Okay, gotcha. I don't think it turns violent. It turns violent like that. You'll be very surprised. Like there's a lot of things, a lot of things you don't want to hear, you know. And one of the things is that countries just blend into the next stage. You know, countries just evolve into the next stage. I mean, people usually win over entire groups of people through love, through kind behavior, through respect. You know, so like you're all thinking, like if the numbers of Muslims moving in here en masse, if they get above a certain amount of number, and I used to believe this as well. This is part of the narrative that I used to believe that they will violently subjugate us all, and that we will become. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think it would happen that way. I think that it would be kind of like subjugation through good behavior. I think you would look at that and you would see that they would be doing well, and you would see that they would treat you well, and you would see that you'd be like, oh, I want to be a part of that. Here I am off out in the cold on my own, and they all seem to have a nice group over there, and they all believe in something, and they all have nice food around in the evenings and when they meet in their groups and stuff like that. And you'd be like, I could do a bit of that, and you just. Okay, so Simon says, I'm just reading that thing. Simon says, I disagree. The last time Islam was in Europe, we were in the Dark Ages. They were never in Ireland. Keep in mind that thing, words and titles like Dark Ages, the Enlightenment, those are titles that are superimposed by people writing history. You understand? The Dark Ages most likely was not dark. And the Enlightenment most likely was not enlightened, because it led to what we have right now. Like the wars that occurred to push Islam back out of France and down through Spain, it was a different life then. Life was different then. It was more militaristic. It was more feudal. and that the sword was kind of like commonplace. It was the order of the day back then. So, and men were men and women were women. And so there was a lot, the answers to these problems were oftentimes religious and religiously organized. I'm not saying that's neither good nor bad. I'm just saying that's the way it was. But I think people themselves on the ground level are not keen to engage in violence, you know? And I think that, like, the majority of Muslims, as are Christians, are good moral people. And I think that their behavior it would be hard pressed to manipulate them to hurt other people. Um, well, I don't know what you mean. We cannot live side by side. Those are groups of people forming throughout their own communities within those areas. You know, uh, I don't know what you mean by we can't live side by side. I mean, they are living side by side. I'm not saying it's right. My understanding. You know what I believe when it comes to Ireland, when it comes to people of Europe, that they are entitled to their own countries. That's what nations are. They're not entitled to be invaded by groups of people. But then we are being invaded by groups of people because we've lost our morality. You understand the connection? Like there's a real. I don't want to keep sounding like a schoolmarm or like some kind of trumped up priest or monk or something. But I'm trying to tell you that that you lose your nation. It's written in the Bible. You lose. There's a reason sodomy and usury are the main sins in the Bible because you lose your civilization when that happens. You understand? And look what's been pushed for the last how many years in Ireland? LGBTQ, bank loans, mortgages. Like, do you see the comparisons? It was already written. Look, I'll take off. You take off the God goggles and you go, oh yeah, that's not. Oh, isn't he so brave? Isn't he so brave and wonderful to come out like that and actually, and oh, that's all. It's wonderful. I think they're the best, and and I even remember statements from girls and from women, from people saying that everybody's gay and all this kind of thing, and I was going, no, they're not. But there was a time when I had to think about it. I was so not in the know that I had to think about it. And now I understand completely that there's differences between men and women. Women are way more malleable than men, and it takes a lot more there has to be different circumstances that lead to that for men. But when that becomes normalized, when it becomes the norm, and when the meeting of two people who create a sterile union from the point of view of having children becomes the norm, well then you are lauding the death of your society, and there's a reason why usury and sodomy are two of the biggest sins in the Bible. There's a reason for that, and I'm just saying that when you actually have a society that celebrates that, you're going to have another tribes of people come in and take your land. You're going to have the men will come in and they will show by example that they are something that the women can go toward, because now the men of our society are becoming immoral. They're becoming incapable of showing a higher moral standard, which is what women want to adhere to create families, which is what they want ultimately. And so then you're going to have all of this dysfunction. And so other groups will come in and take your nation. They will come in who have that higher moral order, a higher moral value. So I'm going to read your stuff as you go along here. Sorry, I'm yanking away here. Catholics and Protestants cannot live together. They can, though, Simon. They can. What happened in the North was not just different. Like, look, Catholics and Protestants in the North, they both believed in God, right? They both believed in morality. They both believed in loving your wife and having children, right? Now, people on their own like that, they don't attack each other because they see it in each other that's exactly what they believe. Like the Protestant and the Catholic looking at each other, who both believe in a God and both believe in goodness, and both believe in loving your wife, loving your children, and all the rest of it. They don't attack each other. When people attack each other, it's because it's been weaponized. So like there's somebody with a vested interest going in there and actually stirring up hatred. You know, divide and conquer. You know, getting short-term loans for some trip to visa. But communities are our nation state. Communities are our nation state. Yes, yes. Eventually they are. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Um, yes, like Ireland of the Ireland that I was growing up in, that I grew up in, was it was a large community. I mean, when you travel on a train or when you went out to the beach on a sunny day, you might meet somebody and you go, oh, who are you? And you go, oh, he's such and such a person from somewhere. And you know such a person. And they'd always ask where you're from. That's normal. That's absolutely normal. And we say like, they say, oh yeah, sure, yeah, you know, fucking John, I don't know, Ryan from up that county, and you know his brother, and like, you know, it was nation, it was a community, a big community, a nation of people, you know, and we have our ethnic differences, slight ethnic differences among being Caucasians on this island, but you know, you'd have always like connections, which was just a wonderful thing actually, even between Protestants and Catholics, you know, like I have a friend out in West Cork, and they were telling me about Protestant families that had well to do out there. They were always good to the local people, and they were involved in local community trade in the past and all the rest of it. And they were part of that community, even though that they were Protestant. And so, like to say that people just because Protestant, Catholic, and different, well, hate, must hate because we're different is not true. It's like it's morality. You know, do we share morality? Do we share the same belief? And you know, like I knew a Chechen guy, right? I knew a Chechen here in the place where I live, and he said to me that they see Christians as brothers. They see them as brothers. They think we're lost because we don't believe Muhammad, and we believe in that Jesus Christ resurrected and all the rest of it. They don't believe that. They believe he just went back to heaven. But they just say peace be upon him when they mention his name. So they're very similar. You understand? In the pan out, they are very similar to us. There are sects of Islam which are more militant and more aggressive, yeah. But on the whole, the majority of them are good moral people. And why are they good moral people? Because their book speaks very similar to the way our Bible does, you know. And yes, there are warring scriptures, and there are scriptures for fighting, but so there are some in the Bible as well, you know. But it's people usually adhere to the moral verses, which keep their communities together. And like you look at Muslims. Do you ever see Muslims around your town or city? Do you ever see them greet each other? Right? What did they say when they greet each other? They say something like what is it? Assalamualaikum. You know that, and they have that greeting that is religious. You know, like we had the same thing in Ireland. You know, we had the same thing. We had like a deity. You know, we had God willing, and we had in God's will, or we had the same thing, but they're no different. You know, like the fundamental, there are fundamental differences, but the actual majority of both books are high in similar moral value. You know, and so like they see us like even a Chechen guy who was fundamentalist Islamic, yeah, he was a fundamentalist Muslim. Like he was content with coming to Ireland, believing he was coming to a Christian nation, you know. But then he saw what had happened to Ireland, and you know, there were fascinating things about his culture, you know, that I saw. At first, I thought, you know, it was very. I thought they were wrong. And at first I thought that the way they behaved were wrong, and in comparison to what I understood in my own mind about them, you know. Um, but now I see there are reasons for why they behave like that. They get to keep their families together. They get to keep their nation. They get to keep their in-group preference because of their beliefs, because of their moral order. You understand? And I won't stop flogging this horse. Yeah, well, for me, it's ethnicity. You understand? It's for me. I don't care that there are Muslims here. I care that there are people from um, countries that whose heritage is not here. They are square pegs in round holes. They are in the wrong country. You know, they have countries from which they come from, which their history is from, which their heritage is from, which their ethnicity is from, which their belief systems are from, which are settled in those countries. They need to return to those to have to be at one with who they are. You know, I've no problem with small numbers, but look at all our laws being changed in favor of these people. We're being put down to the benefit of these. Yes, but Simon, they're proxy warriors. You understand? They don't know. They don't know that. Um, they don't know that they're being used to enact a new world order. You understand, Simon? So these people are being brought in here, and our laws are being changed by the people further. It's not being changed by them. It's being changed by the people further up. You know? Yeah, yeah, I know. But like, you've got to understand that it's the system, the system. It's not Muslims who are changing the law. It's the people paying money to the higher ups up along the system. You know, and then you have, we say, the world banking system, and you have the World Economic Forum and all this. And these are the people doing this. You know, you have the United Nations since World War II enacting human rights, creating human rights, just like our government has created laws recently to say that we all have to cover our faces going into shops, and that we all have to stand 2 meters apart, and that we can't travel further than 5 kilometers. Those are new laws created by puppets, mannequins in shop windows, uh, put in place by the people who are enacting these laws. You understand? The UN did the same thing. All the migrants that are coming here, like, what do you think the Global Compact for Migration was? That was signed by Leo Varadkar in 2018 in Marrakesh, in Morocco. Like, that was a document to set in stone, to set into being, set into action, um, uh, to give all rights to anybody calling themselves a migrant coming here to our country. You know, and then our countries, they call them the people coming from developing nations into developed nations. Now you go define that. I mean, how do you define what a developed nation is, what a developing nation is? How do you define what a migrant is? You know, like, um, these are nebulous terms. You know, these are nebulous terms, but they're used as if they have concrete meaning. And the United Nations set out a 30-page document which says that we in our countries, Europe, Britain, and Ireland, all developed nations, have to advertise to all these other nations that we have schooling systems, that we have housing, that we have job opportunities for these people. You know, like, that's the United Nations. Do you understand? That's the United Nations. The United Nations hasn't asked you and me what we think of that. You know, United Nations and the EU working in tandem. Look at these huge supranational organizations which are overseeing the replacement of our people in our own land. You know, I mean, it's not the people coming here. It's coming here just been having carrots dangled in front of them and saying, "Here, follow the carrot." You know, follow that. Or should I say, a €500 dangled on the end of a line and going, "Follow that." You know, but you get it. You understand what I'm saying? It's the same thing. Of course, they're going to ask for laws to change. Of course, they are. I mean, if you move into a society created for different people of a different belief system, you are going to want, if that the government of that country and the supranational organizations like the EU and the UN have the ability and the will and the desire to change the laws of the countries to allow those people coming in here, and in fact are doing so specifically with the point of bringing these people in here. Well, they're doing so, and of course the people coming in here are going to like that. I mean, they're going to want that change. Even Joseph Hazelchew, they are mannequins. They are puppets. They're puppets of the New World Order. Like a ethnic Chinese woman becoming the Lord Mayor of Dublin is not normal. That's not normal. Like look at all the adverts on TV. Look at all the adverts on YouTube. Look at all the adverts look at all the movies on Netflix. You see that it's no longer white Caucasian Europeans being pushed as the main populace with which to identify with. Now, why do you think that is? Because it's all part of the same system, as are these people. You understand? Like, it's not Muslims, it's not migrants, it's not foreigners. It's the system that's been created by the further ups, the globalists, the female sheep, as Simon says earlier, the world banking, the 14 families, the Illuminati, the Freemasons, whoever you want to call them, the Skull and Bones, blah 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 blah, on we can go. Like they're all like, I won't say they're all part of it, but some are more in it than others, more are creating it than others. Like the United Nations was set up because of the narrative created around the Second World War, and female sheep and Germans, like now when you stand up for your own country, you're attacked by saying, oh, there's no such thing as pure blood in your country. So what I argue and say is that, well, I believe that this country is for people with a shared heritage, history, culture, and ethnicity. And that's how I fight back in saying that. Let me see. I didn't read the rest of that. I was belting ahead too fast. That Muslim and Blanche, they're all looking to get laws changed. If she Muslim, that was on RT. Irish and Tired. I don't like Netflix, but watch The Siege of Annabelle. It's not your friend. No, it's not. Ooh, Irishman in action. Yeah, I have a cousin who was there. Yeah, and he posts and talks a lot about that. That's an interesting one. I would say that there is more to that than meets the eye because of UN involvement. If you get me, Irish and Tired. I know everything you are talking about. I have a master's degree in the agenda. I'm letting around for folks that don't. Yeah, dead on, Simon. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's all I am on here. I'm trying to just vocalize what people are posting in the chat. I know you do. And I see a lot of you do. So, yeah. Anything anybody else wants to talk about? Come on, guys. I'm gonna have to at least. I'm gonna have to frighten off a few of you with at least one paragraph from the Hagakure, because I did put books in the title, and anybody coming on here thinking they were going to get the continuation of the book review. I suppose I could always take the books out of the title after this video, but yeah. So wet day outside, and the road work stopped, so there wasn't that banging away on the road while I was going through the video. So. Yeah, if you think so, see, you're painting kind of like worse scenarios. I would suggest don't engage in fear porn. Like you have to focus on what works. If you're only focusing on the fear, oh, that will happen, oh, that will happen, oh, that will happen, well then most likely it will. Whereas if you focus now, hone your attention and focus on getting a patch of land. If you have a job or if you don't, whatever way to make some money or to team up with guys that you get on with and work at. Don't bet money on it. Put your money on fucking getting a piece of land and growing vegetables. What are you talking about? You bet money on the UN being in your streets by 2025. Okay. What are we at here now? 2025 years off, right? Think about, we say, if you start believing in God now, right? Okay, just playing with the idea, right? And then you meet other guys who do the same thing. And now you've all got something that you can have high trust in each other about, all right? And then you all have, would say, different skills. And some of you are plumbers, some of you are electricians, some of you are builders. You all really work at getting good at what you do. Of course, I know all about it. But what I'm saying to you is that if you get really good at get good at something, right? Focus on that. Get good at something you can bring to the table, something you can bring to other people. That if you were in a community of people, that they could come to you and rely on, you know. So whether it's building some type of house, or whether it's actually how to create compost, with say using different manures, different seaweed, creating good growable compost that would actually send send crops and vegetables up into the air, which would end up on the plate of you and your community. And then you have, because you're getting really good at what you're doing, you're getting really good, and other people are starting to believe in you and trust in you. Then women will want to be with you, because you're now becoming a force to be reckoned with in your society, in your community. And then what do you have then? Well, you have a group of people which are growing, growing in understanding, growing and producing, growing and creating, growing and building, growing in love of life, That is the greatest thing you can do, I believe, to counterbalance and counteract any new world order. That is a counter it. Because if you do that, you basically then have a self-reliant system upon which to rely on, So I'm going to leave it at that. It's 52 minutes. What are we looking at here? I'm planning for war. Food. Well, why are you planning for war? What if war never comes? What if you're already at war, son? What if this is a war? What if you're already in one? And the war is surviving by eating good, nutritious food. What happens when the food chain supplies break down? What happens when trucks, planes don't fly from one country to another with different types of exotic fruits and veg, like bananas and oranges and all the rest of it? Like, what if that stops and there's no economy to support that? What happens when trucks can't, there isn't a supply line of food coming from different countries to come along with trucks and bring them into your local area? What are you going to do then for good, nutritious food? Like, if you keep promoting fear porn, you're going to come to a halt. I'm not going to face any music. I'm creating my own music, and I'm hoping that other people will see the melody, hear the melody that I'm creating, and get on board too. You understand? All right, so I'm going to leave it there. Okay. All right. Take care. Look, we like even the paid trolls are actually speaking wisdom. All right. Take care, folks. Bye.